Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna
भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, Text 76. Please repeat. Sava ayam brahma mahadvimrigya kaivalya nirvana sukhanubhutihi priyah suhridvah khalu matuleya atmarhaniyo vidhikrit guruscha. Anyone? Sava ayam brahma mahadvimrigya kaivalya nirvana sukhanubhutihi Rudva ya Atmarhaniyo vidikrit guruscha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. How wonderful it is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Parabrahman, Krishna, who is sought by great sages for the sake of liberation and transcendental bliss, is acting as your best well-wisher, your friend, your cousin, your heart and soul, your worshipable director, and your spiritual master. Please repeat. How wonderful it is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, The Parabrahman, Krishna, who is sought by great, great sages for the sake of liberation and transcendental bliss, is acting as your best well wisher, your friend, your cousin, your heart and soul, your worshipable director, and your spiritual master. Purport: Krishna can become the director and spiritual master of anyone who is serious about getting the mercy of Krishna. The Lord sends the spiritual master to train a devotee, and when the devotee is advanced, the Lord acts as the spiritual master within his heart. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Krishna does not become the direct spiritual master unless one is fully trained by his representative spiritual master. Therefore, as we have already discussed, the Lord's representative spiritual master should not be considered an ordinary human being. The representative spiritual master never gives any false knowledge to his disciple, but only perfect knowledge. Thus, he is the representative of Krishna. Krishna helps as the Guru or spiritual master from within and from without. From without, he helps the devotee as his representative, and from within, he talks personally with the pure devotee and gives him instructions by which he may return home back to Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So, this chapter and previous chapter, Narada Muni had been giving instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj about Varnashram Dharma and how there are different grades of people in Varnashram Dharma and how one can advance. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was internally thinking that I am a just Grahamedhi, I am entangled in this material complexities. How a degraded person like me can be delivered? So in answer to that, Narada Muni, previous verses, he gives his own story. In his previous life, Narada Muni had been a Gandharva. In Gandharva Loka, named Upabarhana. So that was the life of Narada Muni. So Gandharvas are very good in singing and they are beautiful also. And so it is explained that Narada Muni, he was an expert singer, he was very beautiful, and actually he was seeking association of women like a playboy. So he was in that sense lusty. So during that process, there was an event, Harinam Sankirtan, organized by the Prajapatis, and they invite all these Gandharvas and Apsaras to come and participate in that Sankirtana. So Narada Muni goes there as part of that, and in the association of women, he becomes carried away and he starts to sing using his singing abilities. Instead of glorifying the Lord, in the Sankirtana, he starts to sing about the demigods, whatever he wanted. So now the Prajapatis, they take to offense. Prabhupada mentions that there are two offenses he committed there. One is to go to that event in the association of lusty women. And the secondly, he did not understand the principle of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho. You should glorify Lord Vishnu only, not glorification of some demigod, which is unfortunately the case in these days, or even in those days, these kind of things happen. Those who don't know the true principles of spiritual life, they glorify demigods, which was what happened in Narada's case, or Upabarhana's case in that point. So the Prajapatis, they curse him because you don't know the principles, you're acting like a Sudra, so may you become a Sudra. So Narada Muni, he falls down to become a Sudra. He is born to a Dasi, a maid servant. He does not have father. But he happens to, or his mother happens to serve these great Bhakti Vedantis, the great devotees, as we know that story. And then eventually his mother dies, but he continues that service. He hears their discussions, he takes their remnants. So by dint of this, he gets purified. And then in the next life, he gets promoted to become the son of Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni explains this story, and where Prabhupada mentions a couple of interesting points during the course of that pastime, that if one has no desire other than to serve Krishna and his devotee, then his life is successful. So just like Narada again obtained that desire when he became the son of a maidservant, he was a Sudra basically. But by his desire, he generated that desire to serve Krishna and his devotee. That was the thing that he did. By that desire, he became qualified again. And then Prabhupada also mentions that by associating with devotees and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, any man in any condition of life can achieve the highest perfection without a doubt. So the previous purport or the previous statement was, one has to have no desire other than serving Krishna and his pure devotee. In this purport, the other statement I've read is, by associating with devotees and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can, in any condition of life, can achieve the highest perfection without a doubt. So Narada Muni, why he told that story, his own story, is to clarify Yudhishthira's internal doubt. Oh, I am a Grahamedhi, I am a fallen person in the householder life. How can a person like me be delivered? So Narada Muni said, don't worry, even in my own case, I became a Sudra, the lowest of men, but I was delivered by this process. And he even said, oh Yudhishthira, what are you worrying? What are you saying? Krishna, the Parabrahman, he lives in your house as your own brother. And all these great sages, they come to your house. When people are trying to go and take darshan of the sages, take the blessing, and the sages, they are very difficult to obtain their darshan, give their darshan. They are coming and taking blessing of the Lord in your house. So what are you talking about? So you're already much higher than all these great brahmacharis and brahmanas about whom I've been describing in this chapter. So in that context, this verse comes. So what he is saying here, in this verse, Sava ayam brahma mahad vimrugya, that Brahman means not Lord Brahma. Here the Brahman refers to Lord Krishna, the Parabrahman. Saha Brahman, that personality of Godhead. Krishna, I am Brahma, Krishna, who is Mahadvimrugya. Mahadvimrugya means he is very difficult to be obtained even by great sages, Mahats. The great saintly persons, they are trying to understand Krishna, but he is very difficult. And why they are trying to understand Krishna? For Kaivalya Nirvana Sukhanubhutihi. Kaivalya means liberation. Why liberation? Because they think they can get Nirvana Sukhanubhutihi. They can get that bliss of liberation. So they are seeking Krishna with the view of getting Nirvana Sukhanubhutihi. But that same Krishna, Saha, he is acting as, in your house he is living, acting as Priyaha, very dear to you, Suhrat, well-wisher, Matuleya, your cousin, Atma, your heart and soul, Arhaniya, worshipable, Vidhikrit, your director, Guru, your preceptor, your spiritual master. That same Parabrahman is acting. See your fortunate position. So that is the context. So here, Prabhupada explains these two words. So there are several words described about Krishna in relation to Yudhishthira, but he picks out two words, Vidhikrit and Guruhu. Krishna acts as Vidhikrit and Guru to the Pandavas. So what is that? Vidhikrit means director. Guru means the Guru. So what Prabhupada is saying, Krishna can become the director and spiritual master of anyone who is serious about getting the mercy of Krishna. So not just Yudhishthira or Pandavas, Krishna can become Vidhikrit and Guru, can become the director and the spiritual master of anyone. But what is the condition? Who is serious about getting the mercy of Krishna. So what is the meaning of serious? Determination, okay. Committed, that's the only goal. Focused. Yeah, you are practically, that comes as a consequence of your focused, your commitment, your determination. Yes. Huh? Anyabhilashita, I'm just asking what is the actual meaning of seriousness? What it translates to in Krishna consciousness, eventually it will happen. Seriousness means actual meaning, dictionary meaning, as all of you told, huh? Discipline, following the instructions. So I've actually noted down the dictionary meaning of seriousness. Dictionary says demanding careful consideration or application. Like many of you have said, it also means focused. Or in simple words, I've thought about it, to simplify everything, seriousness means you prioritize that over anything else. You're serious about it. You prioritize that. Otherwise, you're not serious about it. So Prabhupada wrote one letter. I've selected a couple of letters which make us understand more about the seriousness. He wrote a letter to Bhanutanya. This is from Tehran, Iran. So the fact that you left our movement just on account of some minor disagreements shows that you are not actually serious about going back home, back to Godhead. I suggest that you become serious about spiritual life and try to overlook the minor offenses of others. So seriousness, if your priority is not Krishna consciousness, you get easily dissuaded by anything else. So Prabhupada is saying, I suggest that you become serious about spiritual life. Your going away means you're not actually serious. Minor offenses you're not able to overlook. So Prabhupada wrote another letter to another devotee. I will not say the devotee name because this has some strong words and potential fall down of the devotee in question here. I'm very sorry that you have taken to dash, fill in the blank. It will not help you advance in your attempt to spiritual life. In fact, it will only hamper your advancement. I do not know why you have taken to such abominable activities. What can I say? Anyway, try to render whatever service you can to Krishna. Even though you are in a very degraded condition, Krishna, being pleased with your service attitude, can pick you up from your fallen state. You should stop this dash immediately. Otherwise, your chances of advancing in spiritual life are nil. Show Krishna that you are serious, if you are. So, seriousness means this, just to give some understanding. So now, this verse that Narada Muni is speaking about, it also comes in the 7th chapter, earlier chapters, 7th canto, earlier chapters, where Narada Muni again glorifies Yudhishthir Maharaj. Basically, Sukadeva Goswami glorifies Parikshit Maharaj about his family. Now Narada Muni is glorifying Yudhishthira. Similarly, Sukadeva Goswami glorifies Parikshit Maharaj. See, your grandparents and you're all great people. Because Krishna acted as Rajan Patir Gururalam Bhavatam Yadunam. For you and the Yadus, Krishna acted as Gurur Patihi, all these things. Daivam Priyaha Suhrudaha Kvacha Kinkarova, as even your servant also he acted. Kinkara. Astveva Anga Bhagavan Bhajatam Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karhichit Sma Na Bhakti Yogam. Sukadeva Goswami said, Krishna, if one becomes a pure devotee, he does all these things. He can even become your servant. He'll become your director, guru, and so on and so forth. Therefore, it is said, Muktim Dadati Karhichit Sma, means Krishna is willing to give liberation to anyone, na bhakti yogam. But Krishna does not easily grant pure devotional service. That's what Sukadeva Goswami told. Very similar words. Because if Krishna gives you bhakti, Krishna becomes subservient to you. So Krishna very carefully protects to very special people. And now in that context, there is another verse in Bhagavad Gita which also resonates. 7th chapter, 3rd verse. What is that? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. So hardly one person among Manushyas, he endeavors for siddhi, liberation. And among those who are endeavoring for liberation, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. That means one hardly gets pure devotional service. Understanding in Krishna in truth means pure devotional service. So yes, muktim dadati, Krishna gives mukti easily, but not bhakti. But we also often quote that bhakti is easy. Isn't it? Where does Bhagavad Gita again Krishna says bhakti is easy? Tasyaham sulabha parda nitya yuktasya yogina susukham kartum avyayam rajavidya rajaguhyam pavitram idam uttamam pratyakshya avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. It is happily, joyfully performed. So many other places we see bhakti is the easiest, is simple. But at the same time, Krishna says, it's very difficult. I hold that giving pure devotional service. So, how do we reconcile this? Is I mentioned earlier also this purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada says, he quotes that Sukadeva Goswami's verse, Muktim dadati karhichitsma na bhakti yogam. Sukadeva Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that Krishna readily grants liberation, but does not very readily grant perfection in devotional service. This means that Krishna wants to see that a devotee is actually serious and sincere, that he does not have ulterior motives. If this is the case, devotional service can very easily be successful. Otherwise, it is very difficult to obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yes, it is very difficult to understand Krishna in truth and attain that cherished, pure devotional service, the position attained by Pandavas and Parikshit Maharaj, that family. But it can be attained provided you are sincere and serious. So now we have seen in this purport also Prabhupada mentioned, isn't it? Krishna can become the director and spiritual master of anyone who is serious about getting the mercy of Krishna. So we have discussed what is seriousness. The other example, simple example is, say, a person coming to Mangalarti one day, the other day doesn't come. One day chants, the other day doesn't chant, or chanting, talking to others. Or that means shows no seriousness in spiritual life. So we have discussed seriousness. So what is sincerity? So Prabhupada here mentions you need to have sincerity and seriousness. So you all told me what is seriousness. And what is sincerity? Is it same as seriousness? Sincerity means consistent. Follow the instruction without fail. Yes, seriousness is prioritizing. One word we said. You're prioritizing spiritual life. So once you do that, you have to enact different things that are needed. But when you're doing it to the best of your ability, for its purpose, that is sincerity. So sincerity, again, if you want to actually say, sincerity is very analogous to purity. No false pretense. Like a simple example, he was sincere in his praise. He was sincere in his praise. What does it mean? Genuine. There is no false motive. There is not something he is holding back and saying something else. It seems this sincerely word came from ancient Roman Empire. So in those days, these ancient Romans, they had, carved many, these deities or whatever. The sculptors, they used to carve these things of marble and they used to send to whoever ordered. But sometimes there would be some cracks in this, whatever they sculpted. So what they would do, they would fill these gaps with beeswax so that it appears uncracked. It appears homogeneous. But when they ship, and after some time it becomes dried up, the wax dried up and falls away, and the crack becomes visible, and the party becomes quite upset. And they would seek compensation for, false product and all that. So eventually, that became common, and people wanted proof that this kind of things are not happening. So the sculptors, when they shipped these products, they used to sign Sine Sera, Sine-Sera in Roman language. That means this is without beeswax. Sine Sera. So that eventually became sincere or sincerely. That means my intent, my intention, my purpose, I'm true to my purpose. He's sincere in his praise. He's sincerely chanting. Sincerely chanting. Why? What does it mean by sincerely chanting? He wants to make a good attempt to the best of his ability chant. What is insincere chanting? Hmm? Huh? Mechanical or making a show. Obligation. Insincere. He's very sincere in his services. Means he comes to do the service, not to make a show, to obtain something. So, sincerity analogous to purity also. Intent, purpose. So again, Prabhupada had written some letters, give us an insight into what is sincerity. Actually, if you try to search Prabhupada's letters, wherever Prabhupada talked about sincerity, 80 to 90% of the times, or even 95% of the times, he always uses that in conjunction with seriousness. You go and find, every time Prabhupada uses the word sincere, he will say seriousness and sincerity. So both of them go hand in hand. So I'll read some letters Prabhupada wrote about sincerely, and then we will discuss further. So Prabhupada is in this purport talking about, this is Prithu Maharaj's episode where Indra came to steal the horse because Prithu Maharaj was performing 100th horse sacrifice, Ashwamedha Yagna. So Indra came as a sannyasi, a hypocrite, cheating sannyasi. So there Prabhupada mentions it is a duty of a sannyasi to be very cautious because in this age such cheating is very prominent. And in other ages it's not so prominent. So it is a duty of sannyasi to be very cautious because as stated by Lord Chaitanya, sannyasira alpa chidra sarva loke gaya. A little spot in a sannyasi's character will be magnified by the public. Therefore, unless one is very sincere and serious, he should not take up the order of sannyasa. That means sincerity of the purpose. I actually want to be, genuinely want to be sannyasi. Intention, my true intention is to be sannyasi. Unless you are sincere about its purpose, don't take up sannyasa. So now we get a little understanding, more understanding about sincerity. One should not use this order as a means to cheat the public. See that sincerity. Now in another letter, Prabhupada wrote to Hayagriva. So these initial days, there were two devotees who were heavily editing Prabhupada's books. One is Hayagriva Prabhu and the other is, any guesses? Ram Prabhu. His Karmi name was Raymond. So they had some disagreements. So Hayagriva wrote to Prabhupada about, if we read this letter, we will understand what he wrote to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada writes a response to Hayagriva saying, basically he wanted that manuscript to be re-edited because he was not confident about this Raymond's editing. So he wants to be re-edited. Prabhupada said, no, it's already submitted to the editors, it's not possible to re-edit. And then Prabhupada is correcting his understanding. You fear that the entire society will be in danger by Raymond's editing of the Gita is not a very suitable remark. Rama may not be as qualified as you are. But his one qualification is that he is fully surrendered to Krishna and his spiritual master. And his spiritual master is the first class recommendation for his editing any of our literatures, because editing of Vedic literatures does not depend on academic education. It is clearly stated in the Upanishads that one who has implicit faith in God as well as the spiritual master, to him only the import of Vedic knowledge is revealed. So what is that shloka that Prabhupada is quoting? Yasya deve parabhaktir yada dheve tada gurau tasyete katita hi ardhaha prakashante mahatmanaha. The revelation does not depend on our qualification. It depends on our implicit faith in the spiritual master and Krishna. So I think Raya Rama is doing work in that spirit, and his recent publication of several booklets and Back to Godhead and a calendar are all first class proof of his sincerity of service. And Prabhupada also wrote another letter where he says, you have to have sincerity of purpose. Sincerity of purpose is the only means to attain perfection of Krishna consciousness. So as you can see, sincerity means our true purpose, intention, our purity, all these things. So now we need to have both sincerity and seriousness. In general, when we get seriousness, eventually we become sincere. When you prioritize Krishna consciousness, eventually our impurities, our genuinity in seeking Krishna only, all of that will gradually happen. But how do we become serious? Mainly, we become serious by associating with those who are serious. If we are not in touch with fire, how can we become warmed up? So we have to be warmed up by association with fire. If we have to generate fire, we have to associate with devotees who have fire. Like if you see Prabhupada, if you associate with Prabhupada, Prabhupada is always fiery. He's always seeking to serve Krishna. He's always preaching, that spirit of preaching. When you associate with Prabhupada, when you hear his conversations, hear his lectures, you get that spirit, associate with that automatically. And from that seriousness will come, and from the seriousness, your sincerity of purpose will get improved. And of course, people who are not serious, even if they come and little bit service they do with simple sincerity, that eventually that Agnata Sukruti will keep adding up, and eventually they will get that seriousness. So both of them go hand in hand with each other. So Krishna can become the director and spiritual master of anyone who is serious about getting the mercy of Krishna. Here in the purport, Prabhupada also mentions about how one can also have Krishna as the spiritual master from within. But that stage happens at a very advanced stage. So when is that happens? Anyone remembers in the purport? At what point Krishna starts to act as your spiritual master? Completely follows Guru's instructions. Not exact words, but you're close. Tesham satata yuktanam, that Krishna acts as a spiritual master within his heart. So fill in the blank question. Krishna does not become the direct spiritual master unless one is dash by his representative spiritual master. Okay, there are two words. Krishna does not become the direct spiritual master unless one is fully dash by his representative spiritual master. Trained. Unless one is fully trained by his representative spiritual master. Now, is there any course or a curriculum which says, oh, no, I've finished this, now I've fully trained? There is no such thing, isn't it? You need to go through these books, you study these books, write an exam, now you are fully trained. No, it is, Krishna is the evaluator. Srila Prabhupada is the evaluator. The spiritual master is the evaluator. Only when he says, now he is fully trained, Krishna starts to direct. And then Prabhupada says, therefore, as we have already discussed, the Lord's representative spiritual master should not be considered as an ordinary human being. So he is quoting this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. He speaks about the nature of Acharya. Acharyam mam vijaniyan navan manyeta karhichit. Avan manyeta karhichit. One should not deride and insult a spiritual master to be an ordinary, to think one spiritual master to be an ordinary person. Unfortunately, even in our movement, what we are following is genuinely what Prabhupada has recommended for us. But they're making these gurus, and even most recently also, there is an announcement. This person is removed from being a sannyasi. His name will be such and such. That is, you are considering a guru to be an ordinary person. If he is really guru, why he has to be considered as an ordinary person? Acharyam mam bijaniyan navan manyeta karhichit na martya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. He is a representative of all the demigods. That means they introduced a concept. Two kinds of acharyas are there. One is founder acharya with a capital A. The other is another acharya with a small a, and he can fall down. So this is the kind of unfortunate things that are happening. But the true teaching is there is nothing like a capital A or small a. Acharya means acharya. Acharyam mam vijaniyan. If he is not on the category of Krishna, mam vijaniyan, he cannot be acharya. And here Prabhupada says, and the spiritual master never gives any false knowledge to his disciple, but only perfect knowledge. Thus, he is the representative of Krishna. Krishna helps as the guru or the spiritual master from within and without. From without, he helps the devotee as his representative, and from within, he talks personally with the pure devotee and gives him instructions by which he may return home back to Godhead. So we all might have seen that conversation. One disciple is asking, what about bogus guru? And Prabhupada says, there is nothing like a bogus guru. Guru cannot be bogus. The moment he is bogus, he cannot be guru. The moment he is guru, he cannot be bogus. So either you are guru or you are bogus. You cannot be both. So like that. I'll stop here. Any questions or comments on what we discussed? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's a good point. Mamchayo avyabhicharene bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So there is also acknowledgement, of course not in that verse, but one verse where Krishna says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. You may be sincere, and because you are sincere, Krishna is protecting you. Even sometimes you may fall down. Because you are sincerely trying, you fell down because of your inability to control yourself, your senses, because you are not completely advanced, because you are genuine in your purpose, Krishna will still consider you as a sadhu. Good point, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So they say when he was guru, he was rightfully guru, but now he is not guru. So the point is, if he is falling down, he cannot be guru. He was never a guru in the first place. So guru can never fall down. That's not our teaching. See, our position is simple. The question is, what about those who are sincerely following as of now? What about them? Are they real gurus? Our position is, we wish them well. We wish them that everybody practices Krishna consciousness nicely. But our position is not based on whether he fell down, therefore he is not guru. Our position, of course, that is also our position. But our main thing is, if he is not authorized by his spiritual master, he cannot be a guru. As simple as that. You cannot be a self-made spiritual master. But they are not saying Siksha Gurus, they are saying Diksha Gurus. Yes. They are saying we are initiators. If they say Siksha Guru also cannot give wrong instruction than what is given in the scriptures. If they give even one wrong instruction, they are not Siksha Gurus. If they say Prabhupada is dead, I've heard personally myself from a so-called guru, current guru. A dead father cannot produce children. See how offensive that statement is. They think that Prabhupada is dead. So he cannot give any more children. He cannot produce like that. So that means they are not even eligible to be Siksha Guru. Yeah. Yeah. Acche Vishnu Siladhir Gurushu Naramatihi. Yeah. Yeah, so Brahmaji's fall down, they quote, but unfortunately they don't know that Brahma gave up that body in which he fell down and he acquired another body. And the current Lord Brahma is a pure devotee who has given up that previous position. So, so unfortunately they give all these arguments. But we know, fortunately, we are in the right side. Fortunately, we are following pure teachings of Prabhupada. So we are able to understand all these things. It's good because Chaitanya Charitamrita Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Nakara alas. What is that? Siddhante boliya chitta nakara alas. Siddhanta boliya chitta means you should not be lazy or inattentive or hesitate to discuss philosophical matters, even though they are controversial. Because that's when Siddhanta boliya chitte nakaral, you'll be established in proper Siddhanta. You'll not be shaken. Any other questions? Randaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.